Yar, man, bro, you was in your bag today. On the way out, I have to ask you about I Got Kendrick once more. When the Party Dies, right? She was talking about Ghost Ship. Now, if you play When the Party Dies, it matches perfectly. And I believe her theory to a T because after playing it, it matches. And I'm like, man, this dude Kendrick. And I thought about you, bro, because I'm like, he is so methodical that if this man looked up a movie and made this song off of a movie, then he got the Black Forces because he's on the Black Air Force energy right now. It's just everything that he's doing is just lining up perfectly, man. How did you feel when you first heard that record? And B, do you think Kendrick is somewhat prophetic because the timing is immaculate with everybody talking about Diddy parties? It's like When the Party Dies. He's talking about the industry. So overall, man, like how did you just feel from hearing that record? And do you feel like Kendrick is somewhat of a prophet? And I'm not saying in a way of like in a biblical gospel sense, but where it comes to a person that's speaking to the times.
Yeah, I mean, the timing of I think it's Watch the Party Die. It's really
Watch
untitled.
the Party Die.
It's really
right.
untitled. I don't think there's a title on that song, but I think people call it Watch the Party Die.
Yeah, Watch the Party Die.
Watch the Party Die. And he released it like maybe an hour or two before the VMAs. Mm-hmm. And it was 9/11. And it was like, all right. Because like I said, he's very methodical in what he do when his approach to things. People don't usually release records on a random, I think Wednesday, like a Tuesday. Like people don't really release albums on that day, so it was like records on that day. And so he releases this single, and it pretty much shows. It pretty much gives like the outline of what's going to be next with this industry. Mm-hmm. Like how do we move beyond what's happening now in terms of just not focused. I don't think the industry is focused. Yeah. And we think about like the VMA, that's almost one of the biggest parties in the industry. And it's like, all right, Watch the Party Die. And that's interesting because it was like, the VMAs, I'm not sure if you guys got an opportunity to watch it, but the song of the summer didn't go to Not Like Us. I think it went to a song by Taylor Swift.
Come on, bro. I didn't know
and,
that.
Post Malone.
What?
Yeah, it was, I forgot the name of the song, but they got the song of the summer or whatever. And so it's like, all right, how does this be Not Like Us? And so in a sense, like Kendrick may have been prophetic there. It was just like, all right, we know what this is and we have to really confront it. I think with the lyrics of that song, it's almost like he's using a lot of biblical references in a sense where it's like, all right, from a biblical standpoint, we got to kind of like destroy and rebuild. We kind of have to destroy what we've been used to in this industry in terms of partying, the oversaturation of just sex, drugs. Like it has to be destroyed. And in a sense, it almost feels like this industry is caving in a sense, right? Where there aren't really that many rap superstars anymore. Yeah. Like outside of a Kendrick, I would still consider Drake a superstar. Yeah. Outside of a Kendrick, Drake, a J. Cole, or a Future, or Travis Scott, there aren't really artists. There aren't really many artists who really move in a lot of units. Yeah. And so, in a sense, it's like we're seeing this level of what hip hop is taking a step back. Now the thing is this: does hip hop go the way of the blues and jazz, where it no longer becomes relevant to this generation, or do we take time now to like really reevaluate where we're going and give it another light? And I think that's where he's at with it in terms of, regardless of how much money you have, regardless of how much fame you have, and if you're doing something to mislead this next generation, you need to be eliminated. And that's what he's saying. Like we have to get rid of all of these people that's not really pushing us forward. Wow. And he said something different. He's like something interesting. He says they don't hate me, they hate the man I represent. And I think that can work both ways too. Yeah. Like, not just keep picking on Drake, but I don't think he really hates Drake, but he hates what Drake represents in terms of what Drake stood for, in terms of what he presented. And I think that's kind of what Kendrick is going. It's just like, the representation of hip hop is flawed now. It's not on the right path, and we may have to destroy and rebuild it. It has to be something that has to, like, we really have to take a hard look at it. We're seeing what's happening with Diddy. We're seeing this whole thing of pretty much one of the biggest figures in hip hop. Pretty much, we've seen his downfall. And like I mentioned earlier, if you just watch the party die, and think about the trajectory of Diddy, a guy who basically embraced the party scene.
Yes.
I mean, he was the ultimate party guy. Like,
yes.
He was the guy who
synonymous with party.
He was the guy. He was the party guy.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing the party die. Like, we're seeing the party die in epic fashion. Where, I think you talked about the young woman from Effective Immediately who talked about those two movie scenes, and those two movie scenes, it's like tragedy. It's partying, and then all of a sudden it is a tragedy. And now we're seeing this tragic downfall of Diddy. Yeah. We don't know who's next. We don't know what's going to happen next. But it speaks to something. It speaks to what. It speaks a lot to about what Kendrick represents, how he presents himself, and man, I just think that it's. I think that it's. We're going to see a lot more happening between now and the Super Bowl, and how does this next generation come after Kendrick, or come after what we see now, to like restore what it is? Because now it's really a lot of BS music out in terms of hip hop. There's a lot of prostitution rap. There's a lot of women who are using, and like I say, I never want to be the person that controls what a woman does, with her body, but we just hearing raps about women selling themselves for money. Like, what part of the game is that? Like, how are you influencing the next generation with that? Yeah. So that's my whole thing. Is just like, really, hopefully this whole thing, we're able to take a step back, look at ourselves, reevaluate where we are, and then move forward from there.